Dr. Rizzo, as of yesterday, I just defended my dissertation in social emotional learning. I don't know if in New Delhi you all talk about social emotional learning, but it's really the social and emotional issues that our students are struggling with in this generation. I'm sure not only in the US, but all over the world, it's the same social and emotional issues. So just being okay socially and emotionally. So thank you for having me.
There are some students in every class that are not able to perform as per my expectations. They are struggling to compete with their peers. What should be the role of teachers in this scenario?
Oh, I got you. The only thing I'll say to this question is the only competition should be with yourself. When you struggle with compete with others, it means that you think you need to be like somebody else, you need to perform like somebody else. You don't need to perform like anyone else. And some of the issues I had at your age as a teenager was that I wanted to make everyone else proud, but I needed to set some expectations for myself. So when you start competing with yourself, you'll do things that you have no idea you could do before. And for me, that is a lifelong learner, a lifelong lover of learning. That's how I was able to get to the highest level in education, to be able to just say, come on, you got this, you can do this, just competing with yourself, and then you don't feel the need to compete with other students because you're just competing with yourself for your future, what it is that you want to do with your future.
Yes, thank you, Rizzo. Rizzo, the one thing I would like to bring to your kind notice,
Uh-huh.
as you know that over the years, almost for 8 years, I have been organizing these free online sessions for my students. So in my
Okay.
school, we have almost 400 plus students.
Okay.
But in fact, only a few students utilizing this great opportunity of availing the interacting with the foreigners. And at the same time, I organize some free courses for my students to improve their communicative skills. So
Mm-hmm.
I even spare my private time outside school hours, almost 1 to 2 hours every day, and
Uh-huh.
to impart some fundamental grammar topics and communicative skills to my students.
Uh-huh.
And as a teacher, I try to motivate my students a lot of times. So,
Okay.
like, yes, I educated them the importance of communicative skills, the importance of English, the importance of English in the Indian context and in the
Uh-huh.
world context. I explained many times, but only a few individuals actually they realized the importance of English language. But many students actually they're reluctant to join these free courses. I, in fact, what I have observed that these kids are actually like to enjoy checking the reels, checking the shorts, and
Mm-hmm.
playing the any games on phone rather
Mm-hmm.
than attending these online classes, which are very very useful for them in their future. And so, what would you suggest to me in order to make them understand the importance of English? And at least I can pull out a few students to join these free courses.
Mm-hmm.
And one more thing is that if I want to make a phone call to their parents are not fully aware of the importance of English because they are not that much literate and they don't know the value of English. Some of them may know, but since their kids are a bit stubborn, they don't like to convince them to join these free courses. So, in this
Okay.
context, what would you suggest me, and what would you do if you are in my place?
Um, I'm gonna show you what I would do. This world of education is very different from when we started teaching 20 years ago, and these kids are learning a lot differently. So I literally I use there's my TikTok. I use TikTok as much as I can to create videos for others to teach them about my world of social emotional learning. And your students are into technology, and maybe just having them create some projects in English language. Th those of you that hear this later, because Harry's recording it, you have no idea the amount of opportunities you will have if you speak another language like English, but not just in India, in all over the world, because there's so many countries all over the world that speak English. And as a bilingual, I will tell you, yo lo puedo decir en español también, pero no sé si hablan español. I don't know if you speak Spanish, pero en español, el español y el inglés son los dos idiomas. Spanish and English are the two languages that you're going to find at all over the world other than their own language. If you want to be able to communicate better with people, if you want to have more empathy in your future for people, but also, guys, you have a simple tool like technology. So for your teacher, Harry, I will say, if y'all can do, projects on TikTok together, do yeah, or not even just TikTok, Instagram, do some cute reels where you're learning the language together. You you're in a world of technology, and if it's not learning something along the way, then you're just wasting your time just laughing at videos and laughing at silly videos. And yeah, I do that too sometimes, but more than anything, I go on there to try and motivate other people to, if they're having a bad day, you just never know what type of day others are having. So that's why I try to make my TikTok very inspirational, very loving. I'm here for you, but more than anything, because I would think was like two questions in one sentence. The English itself is, man, you could travel all over the world and understand and be able to speak what others are saying, because I've been to other countries, and I'm telling you that English and Spanish, I was very surprised in Europe when I traveled there that everybody knew their language and English and Spanish. So as a motivation, it's coming from me to tell you that learning this new language is it's hard, but life is going to be hard. And when you compete with yourself, that's all that matters. Raise your own expectations for yourself.
Thank you so much. Here is another student, Husniya, over to you.
Yes, sir. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Husnia.
Nice to meet you, ma'am.
Nice to meet you.
I am Husniya. I am a 8th grader. Can I ask you a question, ma'am?
Yes.
Mobile addiction is quite rampant here in my region, especially boys who play games and unnecessary videos. Would you mind giving us some suggestions?
I so I don't know about you all there. Here it amongst your generation, Husnea, your adolescence generation, you enjoy just watching reel after reel after reel, or TikTok after TikTok after TikTok, but um you can also learn from those if it's something that your teacher, like I said just right now, a few minutes ago, if you and your teachers get together and do some TikToks together or do some reels together to get you away from watching the negative stuff. I think your generation is very focused on watching a lot of the negativity, or I don't play video games, but that's because I don't know how. But a lot of the negativity that's out there in the world, and right now there's a lot of it. Instead of doing that, watching something that's positive and watching something that's helpful, that's going to help you grow. I always talk about listening and learning from each other. What can you, Husneya, teach somebody, some other of your classmates, sending each other those positive you just never know who's watching that you can completely make their day. You can, I use social media to lift others up. That's what I use it for. I use social media to post happy things because the person on the other side of the screen, you never know what they're watching. But when it comes down to being locked in school, I mean, that's on the teacher. Whatever the teacher wants to do, if the teacher wants to have you all do a lesson on the phone, if the teacher wants you to put that away, that's not me. That's on the teacher. But I think that issue is happening all over the world. Kids just love social media so much more, but are we using social media the right way?
Okay, thank you so much, Rizzo. Rizzo, I have just shared you a video. You can see the video where students are gathering in a morning assembly. A head teacher actually is taking the knee bends in front of the students. And in the regional language, what he was actually instructing them. So you are
Okay.
not listening to my advices to score good marks in the examinations, and you are not studying hard. You are not reaching to my expectations. So because of that reason, I am punishing myself in the morning assembly, and he is taking the knee bends in front of the students, and even he bent his entire body on the surface, and he is punishing himself to make the students realize what he is concerning about. Because in our region we are not permitted to punish the students physically. Corporeal punishment is in fact is strictly banned here. If anyone is found punishing any student physically, and he should be immediately be suspended from his services. So
Yes.
there are some strict norms here, but at the same time teachers as well as head teachers are really struggling a lot to control these students, and so we can't punish them. Even the parents also, they support their children rather than supporting the teachers and the head teachers. So what should be the role of the teachers and what should be the role of head teachers in this scenario?
It's because it's happening everywhere, Harry. It's with your students present here, maybe that's something that you and I can talk about later because it really depends on the school. It's happening. I see it everywhere I go. Do I encourage the students to use social media to learn from each other? Yes, to learn from the teacher, but if it's not allowed at a campus, I mean, it just uh, I don't have an answer for that because it really depends on a campus by campus. I can answer questions on how your students can, lift each other up, overcome obstacles. Those are my expertises. I can tell you that socially and emotionally, these students are struggling so much more. I can't tell you what should we do if the kids are not listening. It is generational. It's happening here in the United States too, and I need you to know that it's happening here too, where the parents are, and I don't want to say kiddos, I don't want to say like babying you, but they want you to have such a great life that sometimes they forget that you also need to put in the work. So putting in the work, doing sessions like this where you put in the work, but if it's a battle, I know some schools that do use technology and use those apps. And I don't know what kind of district you have or what kind of school you have, but they use educational apps that help the students learn instead of making them so upset that they don't want to learn. So that right there, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but it's a really hard question to answer because it is happening all over the world.
Yeah, I do agree with you. And one more aspect that I would like to bring to your kind notice that so many students, including the teachers also, when it comes to giving the public speeches in front of the
Uh,
students, in front of the teachers,
uh-huh.
so they are actually scared the very thought of standing in front of their fellow friends, and
Uh-huh.
even some teachers they are scared to stand in front of their fellow colleagues,
Wow.
students, to give the public speeches. So undoubtedly, I can say that it's a phobia. So they
Yeah.
should come out of this particular fear factor or phobia. What kind of suggestions you would like to offer to the students who are struggling to give the public speeches and the same time teachers as well, because they are not exception. Even though they teach the lessons just in front of the students and within the classroom, when it comes to the public diocese, I mean, if they want to share the something in front of a large gathering like 400 and 500 students and the teachers, they can't do it. So, what made them to shun themselves from giving these public speeches? Is it a fear factor or any other thing?
Um, I'm not gonna lie to you, even as a public speaker, you get this feeling, and maybe your students will understand what I'm saying. You start sweating, you get this feeling of sweaty palms, right? And you're nervous. And what works for me, and it's always worked, and then I'm gonna keep going with the other strategies that I use, is there's a big audience in front of me, and I will not focus on a single eye at first. I will focus on literally the back of the wall to get my speech started. Then once I get the speech started, that's when I'm able to connect with the people that are in the room. But before I do any of that, you have to record yourself. You have to record yourself and feel comfortable in your own self, in your own body, in your own voice. When I talk and when I record myself, I hate the way that I sound. Right now I'm super congested, so I hate it even more. But you have to record yourself so that you know, okay, I can do this. Or if it works for you all as teachers, is they can record their presentation as well. We live in a world of technology where kids are learning differently. Adults are falling behind in how the kids are learning. So even using technology, all right, if I need to record you in a room over here to do your speech, and then we'll show it to the class, that in order to get rid of the fear, it's just you got to face the reality of, who am I doing this for? Like, who am I doing this? I'm doing this for me and nobody else. I want to make sure that I record myself, that I face that fear. I look at myself. Record yourselves before. I always record myself before. I record the way that I sound. And more than anything, I most of the time I hear the way that I sound. I'm like, oh, I don't like how I sound, but it's all right. It doesn't matter. I just make fun of myself, because making fun of myself is what helps me overcome the fear.
Thank you so much, Rizzo. Rizzo, actually, the very presence of actually your very presence, your energetic nature, and your hairstyle and your dress style, everything seems to be a bit different from the rest of the teachers. So,
Oh,
I undoubtedly I can say that your students definitely like you and your energy levels. So, what makes you so special from the rest of the teachers? Is it because of your way of appearance or way of motivation or way of everything?
uh, you know what? I'll tell you some things that I don't know if I would love to know how you all interact with each other there in New Delhi, but I'm speaking the Spanglish. Um, I'm just real. I'm just real. And teenagers out there, if you're listening to this, middle schoolers, high schoolers, you're listening to this, I'm gonna tell you, I've been there. I've been at the point where I don't think that I can make it. I've been at the point where it was the darkest moment of my life. I am very real and authentic with other people to say, I understand you, I feel you, and if you disrespect me, I'm not gonna disrespect you, because I know that there's a deeper reason to why you're masking the way that you're really feeling. If that is masking it through a phone, if that is masking it by disrespecting a teacher, whatever way you're masking it, I will tell you that you have to be patient with yourself. You have to be patient with others that are helping you in the process. And I will tell you that it will pass. But here in America, it doesn't happen everywhere I go, Harry, and the rest of you. But here in America, the minute that I pull out my tattoos, my tattoos are my life story. So because of the tattoos, I immediately am able to connect with students because they ask me about what each of them means. And because they're so colorful, let me turn off this blurriness. Hold on. Give me one second.
Yeah, please.
Here it is. Because it's blurry. There it is. Oh, it's still blurry a little bit. But I immediately connect with my students through the tattoos because that is just and through shoes. I connect through shoes with kids nowadays because I love just seeing the style of this generation. They have a completely different style than I ever did growing up, but more than anything, I'm here for you. I understand you. You don't have to hide whatever's going on. I'm here to talk to you. That's just it's all about connections and relationships.
Yes, that's a great one question that I would like to share with you. In Indian
Okay.
context, most of the classes, especially in the public schools, we have every classroom constitute 50, 60, sometimes, I mean, 50 students, and sometimes 40 students, sometimes 35 students. So in every classroom, 5 to 10 students are the bright students, and the rest are the average students. And you can find even 20 students are below average. That means false beginners. And you can't expect anything from them. And as per the academic expectations, and we call them a false beginners. So if you divide the entire classroom, 25% of the students are able to understand what I am teaching. Another 25% are not in a position to understand. That means their standards are too low to understand my lesson. So in this context, what I normally usually do, I give a special books for these students who are lagging behind in their standards. And
Mhm.
the same time, I teach the lesson to the other 25% students. But this is not the norm for every teacher. I personally thought that yes, I want to do something for these false beginners. That's why I balance these two groups of students in the stipulated 45 minutes. But all the teachers don't do that. All teachers, most of the teachers, they just teach what they have in their mind and without considering the standards of the students. And these kids, 25% students, they just listen, but they don't understand. They just try to survive, and they tend to fail in their exams when the examinations test them. So that is the scenario. But my role is actually to give them 100% of my efforts to make them good at English, no matter whether officials subject me or not. But I follow the same policy. But in this context, in this scenario, what would you like to suggest the teachers where a classroom has to deal with the different students, different groups of students who are doing well and who are academically good and who are not academically good? And what strategies you suggest for the teachers to deal with?
There's a lot of there's some tier 1 strategies that and tier 1 is, for all students. There's some tier 1 strategies that you can use. I think, Harry, again, that's another one that you and I can discuss without your students at a later time. That I've seen work, especially to build not just the academics, but the social and the emotional. Um, Second of all, y'all, I'm so sorry that you're having to have up to 50 students in a class because that's not okay. That's not a teacher learning environment. That's, you need anywhere 25 to 1 is a good ratio. So I'm sorry that you're having to do that, but thank you for what you do and not giving up on these kids. But your tier 1 strategies, that's where they all can participate in one way or another in the discussion and have them do some movements first before discussing something. You don't want your high level achieving students to fall behind either. So they can be those peer mentors for those that need the tier 3 strategies, which is like Again, this is something that you and I can talk about. But what I will say to the students out there is, if you're a student leader, go lead the right way. If you see your teachers struggling with getting the class's attention, make sure you're a positive leader and not a leader that others follow because you're doing negative things. And if you have teachers that listen to this later, um it's happening here too, teachers. We have student teacher ratio because the lack of funding. There's a lot of lack of funding here. There's a lot of lack of funding in Mexico. My sister city struggles with that a lot. And what I will say to this, to you is you have one job, students, from age 5 to age 18. I don't know if you all have pre-K there or kindergarten, but it's literally just to go to school. That's it. You just go to school. So why waste your time doing something else instead of learning? You're looking at somebody that went through a lot at your ages. A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. A lot of things that I didn't have to go through because I didn't believe in myself. And the doctoral level is the highest degree you can go. And I was able to accomplish that because of finally not paying attention to anybody else's expectations, but finally setting some for myself and telling myself, you can finish this, you can overcome this, you need to be a positive role model to others. Imagine me, your teacher and I would have never connected if I always posted negativity on my Facebook. We connected on Facebook. And it's because of the positivity. People are going to watch you, especially if you want to go to college. College coaches, recruiters, they're watching your social media. So you can lift others up or you can bring others down. We live in a world of technology. So in this world of technology, use it the right way. Use it to help people instead of putting each other down.
Thank you so much, Rizzo, for your time. I know that how important it is for you to take rest in this present health condition. So I request you to give a final message to my students so that we can wind up the session.
I'm going to give you all an acronym in sign language. We're talking about learning English, right? So I'm bilingual. I speak Spanish and English fluently, but I do a little bit of sign language every time to teach you all what you can do to be the best version of you and become your own hero. Captain America says to his Avengers, you have greatness inside you to fight these villains. The villains that you're fighting are technology. The villains that you're fighting are social media telling you negative things instead of just scrolling and going and finding something positive. The villains that you're fighting in this generation are very different than mine, but you're still fighting those villains of depression, anxiety. Don't tell yourself that you have those things. Be your own hero before you try to go and be somebody else's hero, but set your expectations. And I'm going to give you an acronym. And the acronym goes like this. It's for sign language. I put my hands out like this. It's to heal. Okay. And then my heart is right here on my heart. So I have to heal my heart. You have to heal your heart from whatever you're fighting, whatever those villains are that are in your generation. Somebody doesn't believe in you, that's a villain. Something you faced growing up, that's a villain. Something you're still facing. You think that adults won't understand to the issues that you're going through, that's a villain. You have to heal your heart from those villains. You have to encourage yourself. Say, encourage myself. So I have to heal my heart. I have to encourage myself. Okay. There's going to come a point in your life when no one is going to be around to encourage you. If you start encouraging yourself now, you're going to learn what works for you to encourage yourself when you need it the most. Next one is to raise your expectations. By raising your expectations, you no longer think, oh, I have to meet my mom's. Yeah, you have to meet your mom's expectations, your dad's, your guardian, whoever's taking care of you. But set expectations for yourself, because then you're just meeting somebody else's instead of meeting your own and wanting more for yourself. And the last one is to overcome. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't overcome the issues of the world and you don't believe that you can, life is going to be a lot harder. So to be your true self and your true authentic version, be all of that and more.